And we're back. Welcome to my preview and predictions for the quarterfinals of the Under-21s Championship. The group stage is over, which means half the teams have been eliminated, as you can see on your screen now. And this video is going to be covering all 4 matches taking place this weekend in the quarterfinals, 2 tomorrow and 2 on Sunday. Before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video and sharing it with a friend to get more people involved in this Under-21 Championships. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the predictions we've got coming up for you. We are still doing daily World Club Cup content on this channel at the midday slot, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any of that. And if you want to be even more awesome, if you want to help this channel grow even further, you can hit the join button at the bottom of your screen right now to become a member of the channel. Now, speaking of 50%, that is exactly where I am in terms of getting my predictions right for this tournament so far. But I have to say, I did mention it going into match day 3. It's so hard to call final group stage matches because you don't know how many teams are going to mix up their teams going into those final matches. And trust me, when we get to these previews, you'll just see how many change their lineups coming into that final match day with these quarterfinals in mind. But without any further ado, let's just get straight into it. We start off with Saturday, and the early kickoff on Saturday is Portugal taking on Netherlands. In my opinion, Portugal, the absolute standout team of this group stages so far. Some of the football they've been playing is absolutely outstanding. For the Netherlands, they finally figured it out. I said that Ukraine deserved to be in the knockout stages for how well they played in their first 2 matches, but against the Dutch, it wasn't enough. They finally figured out how to defend. And also, with the introduction of Van Bergen into the attack, they also figured out how to create better chances. So fair play to the Dutch. They managed to get it sorted. A reminder, of course, they did win every single one of their qualifying games. Let's not forget. So they put themselves in this position where they come up against a Portuguese side where, let's be honest, like I said, they've been playing some outstanding stuff. They really should have beaten France. They just couldn't quite put the ball in the net. Then they scored 5 on match day 2. Then they scored 4 on match day 3. Now, granted, that 4 on match day 3 against Georgia was aided by a very, very early red card, but they still have to get the job done, and that is exactly what they did coming into this quarterfinal. And speaking of red cards, that is exactly what Regier got for Holland at the end of their match against Ukraine. So he is going to be suspended for this quarterfinal. Now, it should be noted that he did come off the bench in that one, so he wasn't expected to start this game anyway. But who knows? I think this one could end up being a little bit closer than some people would think. In terms of Portugal, they did look like that their star man from this tournament so far, Quenda, went off with a slight knock towards the end of match day 3. But to my understanding, he is going to be available. However, if he is missing, it would be a huge loss for them. In my opinion, this is Portugal's game to lose. They have, like I said, they've played the better football. They are the most attack-minded side in this tournament so far. And I do think that, yes, the Dutch did keep out Ukraine, but I think Portugal are on another level to that. Ironically, these two sides actually met in the group stages 2 years ago, and on that occasion it ended in a draw, with Portugal ending up narrowly progressing. I'm backing Portugal to progress at the expense of the Netherlands once again in this one, and I'm going for a 3-1 victory to Portugal. Do the Netherlands have a chance? Absolutely. On paper, they've got some very, very good players, but in terms of performance so far, I have to go to Portugal here. Speaking of performance, and in my opinion, these are the 2 worst sides that have progressed to this knockout stages in terms of actual on-field performance. The fact that Spain have ended up topping Group A is absolutely mind-boggling. They were awful in their opening game against Slovenia and managed to win it in the 90th minute. They were even worse against Romania, and then with a red card managed to pull 2 late goals to end up winning that. Now, in the 3rd game against Italy, they changed their entire lineup and ended up drawing 1-1. So you can't really read too much into that final game. For England, I mean, there are just no excuses. Absolutely woeful against the Czechs, but managed to somehow score 3 goals. Even worse against Slovakia, drawing 0-0. And then even worse again against Germany's reserves, and still lost to Germany's reserves. That's how bad England have been, but they were helped out by the Czechs beating Slovakia on match day 3, meaning that they still ended up progressing to this match against Spain. To be honest, I just don't know where to go with this game, because this is what I'm saying. Both teams have been so poor that I can see this being a really dull game. I think Spain will be the side that dominate the ball. They'll be the side trying to create the more chances, but with how blunt they've kind of looked in attack without defensive mishaps, I struggle to see how they're going to score. And for England, who have been so lacking in creative areas, I struggle to see where they're going to score. I just think it's going to be a really, really poor game. In terms of the actual teams themselves, no fresh injuries, no fresh suspensions for either side, although Gerard Martin, the Barcelona player, is still doubtful for this one for the Spanish side. The last time these two sides met was in a friendly in 2024 in November. So this is the most recent head-to-head we've actually had in this tournament so far. That game ended 0-0. And that doesn't surprise me in the slightest from what I've seen from these two sides. Should also be noted that these two sides actually met in the tournament 2 years ago. And on that occasion, England beat Spain in the quarterfinals on their route to winning the actual tournament overall. I just don't see this being an entertaining game. I think it's so tough to call. I think the most likely scenario here is just a draw. I don't want to go 0-0 because I do think both sides have a defensive mistake in them, let alone actually creating something for themselves. So I'm going to go for 1-1. If I'm going to pick a favourite, I'd probably go for Spain, given the fact that they have dragged out these results so far in this tournament. But yeah, really, really tough one to call that. I'm going for a draw. On to Sunday then, and we start things off on Sunday with Germany taking on Italy, and Italy may end up regretting not playing their full first team against Spain, because now they have to play Germany, who are the only side that have won all 3 matches in this competition so far. Like I mentioned, a lot of sides changed their teams on match day 3 with these quarterfinals in mind, and Italy and Germany were 2 of those sides. Germany, as we just mentioned, their reserves actually beat England's first team, meaning they did end up winning all 3 games in their group. For Italy, changing their entire team, it meant that they only ended up drawing with Spain on the final match day, meaning that they did end up behind them on goal difference, and that is why they're now forced into this position to take on Germany. And this is why I think it's probably going to end up working against them, because I think the Germans are a very, very strong side, and where Italy have been so good defensively, Germany have been so good offensively. And to be honest, this game is basically going to come down to who comes out on top between Waldemar, the German forward, and Desplanches, the Italian goalkeeper. Remember, Waldemar, 6 goal contributions in just 2 games. Desplanches, no goals conceded in 2 games. The other reason why I think Germany are probably going to end up coming out on top here is because in the 3 matches so far, Italy have only scored 1 goal in each. Now, granted, they have scored 1 goal in each, and that's why they've managed to end up getting 7 points. But out of the 16 teams at this tournament, Italy are 13th in terms of goals scored, which is absolutely staggering. But, of course, only 1 goal conceded, and that was with their reserves. So I think it's going to be close. In terms of injuries and suspensions, there obviously isn't any, because both teams rotated their entire lineups for their final match day. So both teams going in fresh. Both teams are going to be up for it. Personally, I think the Germans will have enough to break down this Italian defence, but we'll see. Italy have some very good attack-minded players as well. This could be a game of the round, and I'm going for a 2-1 victory to Germany. Probably the right result, but we'll see. Italy have done more than enough to show themselves capable of winning this game. And then finally, we have Denmark taking on France. And yet again, 2 sides that basically changed their entire lineup for match day 3, meaning that they come into this completely fresh and ready to go for this quarter-final, but it makes things harder once again to determine what sort of form these teams are in. For Denmark, it did cost them the 100% record. They did go 2-0 up against Finland, but their reserves couldn't hold on to it. Finland pulled it back to 2-2, and that wrecked one of my predictions for the final match day. For France, their reserves beat Poland 4-1, which could potentially cause some headaches for the French manager, because again, they've not played the best football so far in this competition. And when you see your backup team come in and play the sort of football that your main team hasn't, it does make you think maybe we should be playing some more of these players more than the players we've been going for. So there could be some real changes in that France lineup. Sort of a mishmash maybe of all the players they've used so far in this quarter-final. But have they had enough time to sort of prepare that sort of lineup for this Denmark side, who have played very, very well so far in this tournament? What I would say is that both sides do create chances. Both sides do score a lot of goals. We've seen that in all of their group stage matches so far, obviously other than France against Portugal. But even then, as we mentioned, they still created a lot of chances in that game. They just couldn't quite beat the Portuguese goalkeeper. For Denmark, again, some of the football, the way they actually play the game, the way they beat Ukraine, the way they beat the Netherlands, some outstanding stuff. And they've got some very, very talented young players. that are not going to be afraid of taking on this French team. It's just a case of whether or not they're going to have enough. In terms of quality, in terms of the on paper, the names, shall we say, the French should absolutely be winning this game. But I do think Denmark are well within a shout of actually getting a result here. In my opinion, this has the potential to be the most entertaining game of the tournament. I think it's likely to be the highest scoring game of these 4 semi-finals, quarter-finals, should I say. And I think it's going to be really close. But I have to go for the side that I think on paper is the stronger, and that is the French. So I'm going to go for 3-2 to France. But honestly, if Denmark win this, even like if Denmark win this 2 or 3-0, it wouldn't surprise me. They've been that good in this tournament so far. But game on game, France have got better and better in terms of chances created and goals scored. So for me, I think France are just about going to edge out Denmark. But as always, let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. Obviously, we'll be back again for the semi-finals. Be interesting to see how this sort of pans out. I think there is a chance of every single team beating every single other team in this quarterfinal stage. But this is the way I see it happening. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll see you very soon.